Three myths are spreading about DoxyPEP right now, and I bet at least one of them is keeping you from trying the most powerful STI prevention medication in a generation. My name is Robert from Shameless Care, and I'm going to kill all three of these myths right now with science. DoxyPEP is simply taking the antibiotic doxycycline, one dose within 72 hours after sex, and if you do that, it pretty dramatically lessens your risk of bacterial STIs, namely gonorrhea, chlamydia, and syphilis. It's that simple. Now, the first myth is about sunburn, that DoxyPEP will make you get a sunburn. And like all myths, this one is somewhat based in reality. So let's talk about it. Doxycycline does increase your skin's sensitivity to the sun. And whenever you're out in the sun's UVA rays, what that actually does is hit the doxycycline that has been absorbed into your skin after you take the medication. And when that happens, the molecules of doxycycline become excited and release something known as reactive oxygen species, which is really fascinating. And that damages the nearby skin cells, causing something that very much resembles a sunburn and makes you more sensitive to the sun. Now, when you look at studies of people who take doxycycline every single day, like for malaria prevention or for acne, their rates of this happening to them are sort of all over the place, but between 3 and 42%. So those numbers are varied, but can be quite high. So it is something to be aware of. However, that's for people who take doxycycline every single day. For people who take DoxyPEP after the occasional sex act, I'm not going to put a number on that, but certainly nowhere near every day, the amount of doxycycline in their system is going to be much lower, and this impact is going to be much lower as well. As a matter of fact, a study out of Taiwan looked at 700 people who were taking doxycycline to prevent STIs, and one person out of 700 had a sun reaction like this. And so the data is pretty clear that if you're taking a single dose of doxycycline like DoxyPEP occasionally, and you're not taking it every day, you likely will not have to deal with the sun issue quite as much. But remember, the reason why I told you UVA rays is so you understand this. If you use a broad spectrum sunscreen, virtually any sunscreen is going to help block UVA rays. You should be absolutely fine out in the sun. The next myth is that DoxyPEP is going to make your birth control fail. And you can imagine the irony of taking something after sex to reduce your risk of STIs and it makes your birth control fail. That would not be ideal. This started because in the 1970s and 1980s, medical professionals used to say that if you take a broad spectrum antibiotic, it can make your hormonal birth control fail. However, more recent studies have found that that is not the case, and that an antibiotic like doxycycline should not impact your hormonal birth control whatsoever. The third myth is that taking DoxyPEP can cause BV or yeast infections, and like the birth control, you can imagine how disappointing it would be to take something after sex that you think is going to reduce your risk of STIs. And probably it does, but then it causes another issue entirely like BV or a yeast infection. And like all of these myths, that is partly based in reality. There are certain broad spectrum antibiotics which can cause microbiome shifts in vaginas. And I'm sure every woman watching this video right now has probably taken an antibiotic and then it's had some sort of downstream consequences to that. But doxycycline appears to behave a little bit differently. It doesn't seem to cause the same issues. There's a really important study here that I want to tell you about. Not enough people know about this study, but it's a study of female sex workers in Japan. And they were actually taking something called DoxyPrep, not DoxyPEP. And basically what that means is that they were taking 100 milligrams of doxycycline every single day, because remember, they were sex workers and we have to assume that they were probably having sex every single day. So instead of taking 200 milligrams occasionally, they were taking 100 milligrams every single day. But not only did they see a significant reduction in STIs, but the researchers noted that there was no statistical significant increase in BV or yeast infections, which was a pretty huge win for DoxyPEP. So is it possible? Yes, but it would be unusual to say the least looking at the data. So here's the bottom line. As someone who sees STI test results all day and every day, this is the chain of events that I see. Somebody gets their STI test results. Our physician tells them that they have chlamydia, for example. They freak out. They ask questions like, how many partners do I need to tell about this? Is the county health department going to reach out to me? How long until I can have sex? Do I have to be retested? What's the treatment going to be like? Like question after question. It's not a fun experience. And after they're treated and after they get retested in a few weeks, they then almost always order DoxyPEP from us. And I can't help but wonder what would have happened if that chain of events had been reversed. So if DoxyPEP is something that you're thinking about, you can certainly get that at shamelesscare.com. If you search this video because you've had a sexual experience in the past 3 days that now you're wishing you had DoxyPEP on hand, one of our physicians can prescribe that to you and get that to your local pharmacy of choice today. And then if you're wanting DoxyPEP for in the future, we can also send DoxyPEP from our partner pharmacy to your home in discreet packaging. I hope everybody learned something today. We have other videos about DoxyPEP. I will link one right here, and we will talk soon.